Halloween night, 2021. Tokyo was glowing. Neon lights bounced off the sea of costumes flooding Shibuya's streets. Demons, Pikachus and zombie maids laughed, danced and shouted into the night. It was chaotic in the best way. A rare night when Tokyo, usually buttoned up and polite, completely let loose. But in the middle of all that celebration, one man was walking quietly through the crowd. Dressed in a dark purple suit with a green shirt, he looked like he'd stepped straight out of a comic book. No makeup, no wild grin, just a blank stare. While everyone else was out celebrating life, he was about to take it away. At 8 p.m, on a train headed towards Shinjuku, the man who would later be called the Tokyo Joker unleashed a nightmare that would scar Japan's Halloween forever. Before he was the Tokyo Joker, Kyota Hattori was just a quiet young guy from Fukuoka, on Japan's southern island of Kyushu. He grew up with his mom and younger sister after his parents split up. People who knew him described him as calm, polite, even well-behaved. He wasn't the type you'd expect to see on the news one day. In school, Kyota was average. Not a troublemaker, not a star student. He liked manga, video games, anime, pretty normal stuff. After high school, he got a job at a manga cafe which fit him perfectly, but that peaceful life cracked when he was accused of voyeurism by a customer. A huge deal in Japan. The charges were dropped, but the damage stuck. He lost his job, his confidence, and part of his identity. Still, he kept trying. He got a new job at a phone company and even started dating. For 4 years, things seemed good. A stable job, a girlfriend, a future. But when both of those disappeared in 2021, it broke something inside him. Losing his girlfriend hit Kyota hard, but hearing she'd married someone else just 6 months later completely destroyed him. His job was gone too, and in a country where work is practically sacred, that kind of failure cuts deep. So, he packed a small bag and started drifting across Japan, through Kobe, Nagoya, and finally Tokyo. It was like he was trying to outrun his own thoughts, but the loneliness followed him. He lived in cheap hotels, smoked constantly, and started drinking heavily. The deeper he sank, the darker his mind became. At some point his thoughts turned suicidal, but not in a quiet way. He wanted to die spectacularly, in a way that would make people notice, and in his warped reasoning, if he was going down, he was taking others with him. Inspired by the Joker from Batman, he decided to embody the chaos that character represented. October 31st, 2021. Tokyo's Halloween celebrations were in full swing. Crowds swarmed Shibuya Crossing, one of the busiest intersections in the world. Somewhere among them, Kyota Hattori was scouting. A Russian tourist's camera would later capture him walking calmly through the crowd. A chilling image, knowing what came next. At first, he planned to strike in Shibuya, but realized the crowd could scatter too easily. He needed a confined place, one where panic had nowhere to go. That's when he thought of Tokyo's trains. Trains were always packed, and once the doors closed, escape was nearly impossible. So that night, wearing his purple suit and green shirt, he boarded the KO line heading towards Shinjuku, carrying a knife, pesticide, and a bottle of lighter fluid. To anyone looking, he was just another guy in costume. At around 8 p.m, the train was crowded with Halloween partygoers. Kyota sat quietly for a while, calm, almost too calm. Then, without warning, he pulled out a small bottle of pesticide and sprayed it into the face of the elderly man sitting next to him. Before anyone could react, he took out a knife and stabbed the man in the chest. Screams filled the carriage. Some passengers froze, thinking it was a prank. Others realized instantly that it wasn't. As chaos erupted, Kyota moved to the next car, pulling out the bottle of lighter fluid. He poured it across the seats and floor, the smell spreading fast. Passengers ran, tripping over each other, desperately trying to escape. Then he struck a match. Flames burst through the carriage, trapping smoke and heat inside the moving train. But by some miracle, the train driver acted fast, performing an emergency stop and opening the doors so passengers could escape through windows and down the tracks. As the flames spread, Kyota didn't run. He didn't shout, panic, or fight. He simply sat down in the burning carriage, lit a cigarette, and waited. When police arrived minutes later, he was still sitting there, calm, emotionless, staring into space like he'd accepted whatever was coming. The news broke immediately. Videos flooded social media showing terrified passengers climbing out of train windows. The image of Kyota sitting there in his Joker suit surrounded by smoke became infamous overnight. At first, rumours spread like wildfire, that he was an orphan, that his father was in the Yakuza, that he'd grown up abused. None of that turned out to be true. He'd just been an ordinary young man who fell apart and let the darkness win. After surrendering, Kyota was disturbingly open about everything. He told police he wanted to die, specifically by execution. In Japan, you can only get the death penalty for killing 2 or more people. His goal had been to murder enough victims to qualify, but since no one died, that plan failed. 1 man had been critically injured but eventually recovered. 17 others had minor injuries, mostly from the fire and chaos. The fact that no one died that night was almost unbelievable. During a psychological evaluation, Kyota was found mentally fit to stand trial. He wasn't insane, just broken, angry, and obsessed with making a statement. Prosecutors pushed for 25 years in prison. His defense tried to argue for 12, claiming he hadn't meant to kill multiple people. The court didn't buy it. On July 31st, 2023, Kyota Hattori was sentenced to 23 years in prison for attempted murder and arson. Japan's strict gun laws make knife attacks the most common form of violent crime there. Even so, this one hit differently, not just because of the timing, but because of how surreal it was. A man dressed as the Joker attacking strangers on Halloween night. It sounded like fiction. After the attack, Japan's train operators tightened security. Cameras were installed in every carriage. Staff were trained for emergency responses, but the emotional damage lingered. Survivors spoke in court about nightmares, panic attacks, and the fear of ever stepping onto a train again. When the judge delivered the sentence, he told Kyota, "Even if life feels unbearable, you must live to make up for what you've done." Kyota simply replied, "Yes." And that was it. The Tokyo Joker, a man who dressed as chaos itself, but in the end couldn't even succeed at dying the way he planned. A tragedy not just for his victims, but for a life that lost all sense of purpose long before that train ever left the station.